Welcome to today's class on Dotloop 101. My name is Leah with Scott Leroy Marketing, and I will be taking you through all of the Dotloop basics today. So today is the slower paced class. It's designed for agents that have maybe never been in Dotloop or maybe only dabbled around a couple times in Dotloop. So if you are new to Dotloop, today's class is for you, and we will start today's class by going to mykw.kw.com. Right, so that'll be on the top of my screen here. So that is mykw.kw.com. I know a couple dots in there. And this is where you will go to access most all of your KW tech tools. Is again mykw.kw.com. And you'll want to go ahead and log in here. Now your username is not case sensitive, and that is usually something like your first initial, last name, and maybe some numbers at the end. However, your password is case sensitive, so hopefully we know our password. I know there's a million passwords for everything. It's often hard to remember, but that one does need to have an uppercase letter, a lowercase letter, and a number as well. If you have no idea what your MyKW password is, feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com and we can help you figure out your password right away. All right, that's this number right here. Go ahead and send this out again. All right, so hopefully that helps out. And when logging in to mykw.kw.com, which is where I am now and is honestly the easiest way to get into your Dotloop account, so I would highly suggest going through here to get to Dotloop. Hey, can some people hear me? Okay, great. All right, so if you cannot hear me, just make sure. Okay, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Just trying to make sure it wasn't all throughout that you guys can't hear me. So if you cannot hear me, make sure you're calling this phone number right here. And we're putting in this conference ID. And for those of you that can hear me, thanks for your patience to get everyone else on track here. So hopefully this will help here. And this is in the messages, so just because I put it down, you can always access this right up here in your messages to view this number. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that, but you can grab that here. The irony of them not being able to hear me while I explain that and stuff. All right, guys, so hopefully we're all getting on board here. And for those of you that can hear me, make sure you're on mykw.kw.com. Awesome. I'm so glad. All right. Oh, you had to click on the bubble and turn volume on. Oh, good tip. All right, for anyone who wants to read that, that is a great tip. All right. So once you're in mykw.kw.com, we'll want to go ahead and click this Start myTransactions, that blue link on this top center e-edge control panel box. All right, so I'm on this top center e-edge control panel box. All right, I guess we're having trouble with the volume here, so let's just make this clear. Guys, if you can't hear me, all right, so the conference number is what I'm sending out here, so if you'll need to scroll up to view that. And it looks like some of you, if you click on your little bubble, you can turn the audio on as well. That's what Tiffany said, so thank you, Tiffany, for that great tip. All right, make sure you're just calling in at that number above, and then here's the conference ID. Alrighty, so hopefully we can all hear, and just if you need that number one more time, here's that phone number. And thank you all for your patience as we're getting everyone on board. Alright, so that is the prime number to call and the conference ID. So hopefully that'll help out. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and click on Start My Transactions. It is that blue link right under My Transactions here, where it says Start My Transactions. And that is the best way to get to Dotloop right away. So again, that is this link that we'll want to click here. So if you are still seeing the Activate eEdge now, right? So either you have not gone through the setup process with us. However, if you have gone through the setup process with Scott Leroy Marketing and you're still seeing that Activate eEdge control panel box, that most likely means that you just need to clear the cache on your browser. Your browser remembers that image over it and needs to be cleared out all that browsing data to view your eEdge control panel right away. You can always, if you don't know off the top of your head how to clear your browsing data, first of all, feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com and they can send over instructions. But to be able to participate in today's class, if you would like to just go to dotloop.com directly to log in, you absolutely can. Right? So you do not have to go through myKW. You can also go to dotloop.com directly and log in. And if you have gone through our setup process with Scott Leroy Marketing, your Dotloop username and password is found on that myKW setup complete email that we send you guys. So you can, again, log directly into dotloop.com to bypass the myKW eEdge control panel. So I hope that helped. If you're still having trouble accessing Dotloop, feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com. We answer emails within 1 to 5 minutes or so, so they should be able to get you on track very quickly. Aside from that, so as we're all getting into Dotloop, okay, again, you can go to dotloop.com to do so. All right, I'm going to explain a little bit about what Dotloop is as we're all getting here. So what Dotloop is going to be your online filing cabinet. So you're going to have a loop per property that you sell. So for example, if you are representing a client who is selling their home with you and buying the next home, that is going to be 2 different loops because it's 2 different properties. So you'll hear me say the word loop quite a bit. And what I mean by loop is an online file. So you'll see on my screen right here, I do have a bunch of loops already created. And those are like my online files that have all of the forms that I used going through a transaction. And this will all start to make much more sense as we go through this, of course. But the main idea is you want to think of having all of your forms for a transaction right in your Dotloop account. Okay, you can also use this Dotloop account to print out blank forms. You can use it to have your clients electronically sign forms. So it's an incredible tool that I'll be showing you guys all about in today's class. Now, first of all, before we jump into creating a new loop, I do want to teach you a little bit about the navigation around Dotloop, and we'll need to do a little housekeeping, and then we'll get to the fun stuff of creating a loop. So, starting on the top right here on this black toolbar, I just want to explain each one of these icons a little bit, and I will emphasize the ones that are most important. All right, so first of all, this first icon on the top right black toolbar is going to show you all of your stats for your loops. So things like your year-to-date sales and other data on your loops can be found right here in this first icon. Moving to the right, this is one of the important ones I'd like to highlight. And if you are taking notes in today's class, I will emphasize noteworthy items. So this is one of those items, this loops icon. I kind of think it looks like a smiley face with no eyes. Okay, kind of funny. This loops icon here will always take you back to the Dotloop homepage, which is where we are right now. So if you're ever lost in Dotloop or just need to get back home, this loops icon is your friend for that. Moving to the right, we have the tasks icon here, and so you can create to-do lists for yourself in each one of your loops. And this task icon on the top right here will show you an overarching view of all of your tasks due in all of your loops cumulatively. So it's kind of like your umbrella to-do list for all of your loops together. Moving to the right, we have this people icon, and that will show you anyone that you have ever put into your loop, so clients in your loops, your mortgage providers, whoever you add to your loop. This is kind of where you would see all of their contact information there. Moving to the right, this is another really important one that you'll want to take note of, and this is your templates icon. Right, so it looks like 2 sheets of paper here. Now what this templates icon does, and we'll be starting in today's class here, is this is where you can go to access all of your blank forms. So if you would like to go in and simply print off a blank form, you would do so in this templates icon here, and I will be showing you step by step on how to do that in just a moment. I do want you guys to notice that when I hover my mouse over any of these icons, it does pop up underneath what that icon does. So if you're ever unsure, just hover your mouse over that icon and it will tell you. By the way, that's a good tip for any icon you see on any website. If you're ever unsure of what it does, hover your mouse over it and give it a second. It'll pop up and tell you what it does. And last but not least, we do have this final icon on the far right on the black toolbar, and that will either be your initials in a circle or your headshot in a circle if you have added that. If you could go ahead and hover over that, I want to point out some important things here. First of all, your member ID. So your member ID is super important if you were ever to call Dotloop support. And Dotloop support's phone number is on the bottom of every page within Dotloop. They have a really great support line and they have really broad hours as well to help you. If you call Dotloop support and put in this member ID when prompted, it will move you to the very front of the support line because you are a Dotloop premium member with Keller Williams. So that's awesome. So definitely take note of at least where your member ID sits. We also have, if you are an agent in multiple market centers, or if you are transferring from one market center to another, you might see several profiles coming down here, and you can simply click on that profile to view those loops right away. If you only have one profile, that's actually more typical, so that's totally fine. And for now, if you could go ahead and click on where it says My Account in red from this drop-down. So again, we are clicking on My Account in red from this drop-down to just do a little bit of housekeeping here. All right, this will take you into the account settings of your Dotloop account. And the great thing about doing this in today's class is it will take all of your personal information and auto-populate it onto every future form you bring into your Dotloop account. So you don't have to continuously be writing your phone number, your address, your license number. Enter it in one time here, and it will put it onto every future form. So this is actually a big time saver, a little tedious, but bear with me, it'll pay off in the future. So first of all, let's start talking about this headshot on the left side here. If you do have your headshot on your computer, feel free to go ahead and click on that red button here. If you don't have a headshot, it will say something like upload photo, and it'll browse your computer to grab that. It is really important to have your headshot in your Dotloop account because your clients are going to be signing legal documents. With all the spam across the internet, it makes them feel a lot better seeing your familiar face and to know that this is a legitimate form. Now, if you don't have your headshot yet, or this overwhelms you to try and even add your headshot, no worries. Feel free to email your headshot to support@scottleroymarketing.com. There are actually about 6 different places we add your headshot in throughout your KW technology, so we are more than happy to handle that for you. So again, that's support@scottleroymarketing.com. Send that headshot over, we'll take care of that for you. And moving down these columns on the right side here. So first of all, let's verify our first and last name is correct. Mildly important, right? So let's make sure that first row is correct. Our email address. This is an important thing to write down as well. It is very, very important that you know what your Dotloop email address is, because if an agent tries to share a form with you in Dotloop to your Dotloop account, they will need to share it to this email address specifically. I can't tell you how many accidental Dotloop accounts get created because it's being shared to the wrong email address. So please make sure to write down what your Dotloop email address is. It's very important. Our fax and phone number. So let's go ahead and enter that in here if you do not have that already. You may not have a fax number, and that's totally fine. Your office might have a fax number if you'd like to enter that in. Or, of course, you can just leave it blank if you do not have that. That's totally fine. All right, moving on down here, the e-sign name and e-sign initials. Let's just check over that is correct as well. If you prefer to sign with your middle name, you can absolutely add that in as well for your e-sign name. So this is how your name will by default sign forms and will by default initial forms. So feel free to add or remove any middle initials. Company name. All right, moving on down here. Make sure we have Keller Williams Realty in there. If you would like to also add your brokerage name, that's how I have it here. So Keller Williams Realty, Ballantyne area. Our job title on the right-hand side. All right, and guys, feel free to take your time entering this information here. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what to write for job title. A job title, I know that's different depending on what region or state you're in. So whatever you are referred to in your state is totally fine to put. So whether that be broker or salesperson or realtor, just a heads up, if you are writing the word realtor, that always needs to be in all caps to be in compliance. So make sure realtor is in all caps anytime you write that because it is a trademarked word. And as you're finishing that up, feel free to put in your NERDS ID as well. If you do not know that information off the top of your head, no worries. Just make a note of how you got here and you can always come back and enter this at any time. And just a reminder, if anyone is not sure how I got to this screen, just a reminder, I hovered over either my headshot or initials on the top right black toolbar and clicked on my account from that drop down. So this is pretty easy to get to at any time to come back to enter in more info. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of my page where it'll prompt you to put in your address. Now this is going to be your market center address. This is not your home address. If you're not sure of what your market center address is, Google tends to know all. So if you Google your market center name, it should pop up for you to put that in there. And again, this is worth your time here today because it will auto-populate this information onto every future form. So it is a really great time saver, especially when you're in a rush to get that offer in. And as you're wrapping up putting in that address, let's just make sure we click Save on the very bottom right. Okay, that red button there. Once you click Save, you'll see a yellow toolbar that lets you know the contact information updated successfully. Always nice to see that yellow bar confirming that. I know we've all done work and it didn't save. Not a great feeling. So one more time, just make sure you click Save on the very bottom right. There's a big red button there. We'll want to click Save to save the work you did. And then once you're done, let's scroll up to the very top of our screen for just one more page of housekeeping. So once I click Save on the bottom right, we'll scroll to the top of our screen, and if you look at the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see some options in red. And let's go ahead and select the option that says Profiles. So we're selecting Profiles in red on the left-hand side of our screen. Again, if you are an agent in multiple market centers, you might have a couple profiles here, but it will always automatically select the profile you're currently working in. So let's scroll here. Let's make sure that we have our phone number and fax number entered in here as well for this profile. Under profile details, and again, if you're working on your phone number, no rush at all, but if you're done with that, profile details, I just want to highlight the main thing to fill in here is agent license number. So it's that option on the right-hand side column, specifically that agent license number here. And if you are a new agent, that license number is usually a whole string of numbers that is hard to remember along with all the other things that you're trying to shove in your head at this time. So entering in your license number here will again populate that information onto every form you bring into Dotloop so you don't have to remember it every time. Make sure we're entering that in agent license number specifically. Okay, the broker license number in contrast is for your broker in charge. Okay, so that's the difference in that if you're wondering. So you'll want to enter your license number for agent license number. All right, company and associations. This is an important thing to pay attention to real quick, if you don't mind. So it is really important that you see your market center listed under company and associations. With that being said, if you could just take a moment to scroll to the top of your screen and verify it does say premium on the top of your screen. Typically your account will be this black and red that you're seeing on my screen, even though it can vary, so don't be alarmed if not. But the two things you need to make sure is that you can see premium on the top of your screen and it does have your market center under company and associations. If you are not seeing that on your screen, please make sure to email support@scottleroymarketing.com. They can connect you to your market center right away so you can participate in class. The reason this is so important is because if you are not connected to your market center, you will not have access to all of your market center forms that your office staff so graciously adds to your account. So this is an extremely important step. Again, if you are not connected to your market center, no worries. Just email support@scottleroymarketing.com and they can get you fixed up right away. And one last time here, we do need to enter in our address one more time. So if you didn't know your address before, well, now you do, I guess. That's one great point about this. Under company name, we will want to say Keller Williams Realty, or of course you can add your brokerage name as well. So Keller Williams Realty, Ballantyne area, for example, or Keller Williams Realty, Nashua, okay, wherever your market center is, you can add that brokerage name as well. And we need to add our address here. One last time. I know this is a little tedious work, but I promise you'll enjoy the benefits of this moving forward. Now, as you're typing in that address information, no rush at all. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the notification settings below that address. So keep typing and just kind of listen to me out the side of your ear. All right, so notification settings. So you'll notice right here that you do have all of these checked, and I would highly recommend leaving all of these items checked out the gate if you are new to Dotloop. All right, this will give you email notifications when important things happen, such as a document is signed by your clients. That's obviously a really important thing that you need to be notified about. When your signature is required, when your office staff does compliance on a loop. Okay, so these are really important things. I do recommend leaving these all checked off default. However, if you find that you're getting too many emails from Dotloop, you can always come in here and toggle those notification settings right away. And let's go ahead and click Save on the very bottom right, that red button on the bottom right there. Once you click Save, you should see that yellow bar at the top of your screen letting you know the save was successful, so look for that. But again, make sure you scroll to the very bottom right and click Save. Once you're all done with that, let's scroll up to the very top of our screen. And congratulations, you are now done with housekeeping. So now we can get into more quote-unquote fun stuff. So now if you can scroll to the top of your screen, I'd like you to focus on the icon that looks like two sheets of paper on the top right black toolbar. So let's go ahead and click on that. Again, that is the templates icon. And what I'm going to show you now, all right, so let's say that you're not a whole big fan of technology, or rather your clients don't trust electronic signatures. You'll run into it. So you may run into that you need to simply print out a blank form and bring it with you on your appointment so you can explain it to your client and have them hand sign it in front of you. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And so I'm going to show you, there's about 4 steps here that I will show you in order to do just that. So if that sounds like a route you'd like to take, feel free to write this down, as that would be really helpful for you long term. So we did click on that templates icon on the very top right on that black toolbar. Again, the icon looks like 2 sheets of paper. And let's scroll down slightly and you'll start to see a bunch of red form sets on the left-hand side of your screen. Now, your screen is going to look different than mine. Right? These form sets are added in by your awesome office staff. So they will look different. I'm in the Keller Williams Ballantyne Area Market Center Dotloop account, so yours will look different. Don't be alarmed, it's totally normal. So on the left-hand side are all the form folders. So I'm going to show you, for example, how to print out a listing agreement. So if you'd like to scan the left-hand folders for a form folder that you think would have a listing agreement, and then go ahead and click on it. So again, step 1 is I'm clicking on the form folder on the left-hand side in red to open up that folder right away. Step 2 is I will scroll up to the search bar. Okay, so you'll see a red search bar at the top of our screen here. And you'll want to click on to the right of the icon, of the magnifying glass icon, to start searching for the form you're looking for. Now, whatever your listing agreement is called in your state, you can start searching those words. I'm going to type in the word listing, and it will pull up all the forms that have the word listing in the title of that form. Now you'll notice these form names tend to get cut off if they're too long, so if you're unsure or you want to see the rest of that form name, feel free to hover your mouse over that form name and it'll pop up this black speech bubble showing you the full name of that form. So I now know that this is the form I need. So step 3 is I will click on the 3 drop-down dots on the far right and select download. Okay, so again, those 3 drop-down dots, the far right of the form name specifically, and then you will have the option to click download, which will pull this form outside of the Dotloop system and it will download it to your computer as a PDF. So you can simply print off that PDF and bring it on your appointment to get that hand signed in person. So let's go over that one more time quickly. I know that was a couple steps there, so I want to make sure you guys got that. And again, of course, we started in this templates icon on the top right black toolbar. So step 1 from here is I'm selecting the form folder on the left-hand side in red. Step 2, I am searching for the form name on this top search bar here. And step 3 is I am selecting these 3 drop-down dots on the far right to click download. Now just a heads up guys, I do have notes for today's class as well. If you would like me to write out any items that I am saying in today's class or send you the Dotloop notes I have, feel free to email us at support@scottleroymarketing.com. You can put attention my name in the subject line, which is Leah, L-E-A-H, and I would be more than happy to write out any of these instructions for you or include the current notes that I have on today's class. So feel free to let me know if you would like that. I'd be happy to send that to you. Okay, so that is how you go about printing out a blank form. Now, of course, the whole concept of Dotloop is to be able to type in your forms and email it to your client for them to electronically sign to make your life easier, the client's life easier. That is the main purpose of Dotloop. So let me show you exactly how you would go about doing that. So if you could now scroll to the top of your screen and let's select the loops icon. It looks like a smiley face with no eyes there. That's on the top black toolbar. And that'll take you right back to our Dotloop homepage here. And from this Dotloop homepage, what we're going to do is click this big plus sign on your screen to go ahead and create a new loop. Now, just a heads up, if you are looking at what I'm looking at on my screen, great. Go ahead and pause for a second. If your Dotloop homepage looks a little different, so maybe your loops are going down in a list view, there are 2 views of your Dotloop homepage. I will be teaching today's class from this view right here, which is called the grid view. However, just to make sure we're all on the same page, I do want to point out that there is a little red circle right below the black toolbar on a white toolbar that will allow you to toggle your Dotloop homepage view. Now, if you do not have this little red dot right here, that's okay. That probably means you haven't created a loop yet. This will only display after you've created a loop. So if you do see that, feel free to play around by clicking on this little red dot here to see the other Dotloop homepage view, which is the list view. I do like this list view of the Dotloop homepage because it gives you a search bar. So if you ever need to search for a loop very quickly, especially as you start to sell tons of homes and have tons of loops, the search bar definitely comes in handy to find your loop quickly. If you do like this view and you want to stick here, you can create a loop and follow along with the rest of the class by clicking here where it says create a loop. But just to make sure that everyone is on the same page, again, I'm going to teach class from the other view. So if you would like to follow along with me, I'm going to toggle on over to that grid view just by clicking on that red dot. On the top right of our screen, it's right under the black toolbar. So let's go ahead and click on that red dot if you followed me. And I'm going to come back to the grid view. But you can see how easy it is to change back and forth your Dotloop homepage, depending on what you like. That's totally fine. All right, so now that we're all on the same page, hopefully, let's go ahead and click on this big red dot that has a plus sign in it. And as you might have guessed, that is adding a new loop. And it will pop up this create a loop box here. So we'll want to go ahead and create a practice loop. It's really great to have a practice loop in your account to practice out different features of Dotloop before going on an appointment and trying it in front of a client. So if you want to go ahead and name this 123 practice loop or 123 Main Street or your home address, whatever you would like to name it is totally fine. If at all possible, just a heads up, you will want to name it the property address, as that is how Dotloop works best. I realize if you're representing the buyer, you won't know the property address right out the gate. No worries, I'll be showing you how easy it is to change the loop name even after you've created it. But for right now, let's go ahead and create like 123 Practice Loop Drive, for example. And we'll want to go ahead and click Create Loop. Now when you click Create Loop, it should take you to your loop right away. However, some market centers have it set up that they make you select a template underneath that property address, and that's totally fine. It's actually really helpful. So if you are mandated to select a template, go ahead and click on that. I'll be teaching a listing loop today. So if you'd like to select one that has listing loop, feel free. All right, just to make sure we're all on the same page though, I'm going to not select a template, and I'm just going to simply click Create Loop. If you're wondering what these templates do, it just brings in initial forms that you might need to get started on your transaction. So your office staff sets that up for you. All right, and I click Create Loop, and congratulations, you may have just created your first loop. So awesome. Getting somewhere. All right, and as you come into your loop, I would like to show you the 3 main sections of your loop. The top main section is your documents. This is where you'll be spending most of your time in your loop. This is where you'll be adding documents. It's where you'll be preparing those forms, sending it to your clients to electronically sign, and so forth. So again, most of your time will be spent in this document section. If you could scroll on down with me, I do want you to note the people section here. So this is near the bottom of your screen. You'll see the people section, and this is where you'll see every person that's involved in this transaction. Okay, whether that be your clients, your mortgage provider, and so forth. You will always see yourself in the loop and the admin for your market center, which is really important because they do compliance on your loop so that you can get paid. So that's always a plus. So we do always want to see ourselves and our admin in your loop here. And last but not least, the 3rd main section is this task section on the very bottom of our screen here. The task section is where you can create to-do lists for yourself in the system. So for example, if you have a listing, you can add a to-do list of all the million things that you have to do to get a listing ready to go live, such as put out a lockbox, get it professionally measured, put it live on the MLS, put the paperwork in Dotloop. Okay, all those many items that you would need to do, you can create to-do lists for yourself right in your loop, which is really great. For now though, let's go ahead and scroll to the very top of your screen, back to where you can see that property address at the top of your screen. And the big question we get is, great, I created a loop, now what do I do? That's a very fair question. So what you'll want to do first, every time you create a loop, is you'll want to scroll to the top and click on this View Details option at the top of your screen. So right under the loop name, which in this case should be that property address, we can go ahead and click View Details. If you are following along with me in today's class, this is one of those moments that I'll lose you for a little while if you don't do this with me. So again, make sure you click View Details right under the property address at the very top of your loop. And that will take you into the details of this loop. Now, why this is such an important and exciting section of your Dotloop account and why I would encourage you starting here is as you scroll down, if you'd like to scroll down slightly to start to see what I'm talking about, you'll see the system start to prompt you for some information on this loop. So if you come in here and enter in, let's say, the property information or financial information, for example, it will auto-populate all of this information onto every single form that you bring into your loop. Talk about a huge time saver, not having to type in the property address, for example, on every single form that goes into this transaction. So we'll be going into this deeper in just a moment here, but if you could scroll the top of your screen for now. And we're going to go ahead and answer this first question here. So where it says transaction type, it says select transaction type. Let's go ahead and select that first drop-down box. You can see the different options that you have, such as a purchase, listing for sale, and so forth. In today's class, I'm going over a listing, so if you'd like to follow along, go for it and select listing for sale from that first drop-down. All right, once you select that first drop-down, you must select that first drop-down, and then it will allow you to select that second drop-down where it has the loop status. So you'll see that you have different options for the status of this loop. I'll be selecting active listing, but of course you can also select under contract, sold, or archived. So just a quick note on archived. There is no way to delete anything in your Dotloop account. You can't delete forms, you can't delete loops. You can only archive those, which is good, so you can always access that should you need to in the future. Archiving loops will help you organize your Dotloop homepage, and I go into depth into organizing your Dotloop account in the Dotloop 201 video. It's near the beginning of that video, so feel free to check that out on slmtraining.com after today's class if you'd like more info on archiving your loops and organizing your loops. So for now, let's go ahead and select active listing from this drop down here. And remember, you can't select the second drop down until you've selected the first one. Just to make your life tricky, right? All right, and on the right-hand column here, we do see the loop name. So I mentioned you might not know the property address right out the gate if you're representing the buyer specifically. You can change the loop name very easily. So for example, where it says use custom name here, I can even, let's say, add in the client's name and click save, and it will change the loop name right away. So it's very easy to change your loop name should you ever need to. All right, and let's get into this people section, adding people to your loop. So again, you'll see yourself and your admin for your office in this people section off default, always. And as you might have guessed, we're going to click this add person option on the top right of this section to add in your client. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's click add person on the top right in red there. And there are three main fields that you'll need to fill out when adding in your client. So you'll need to add in their full name in that first box there, first field. Their email address. Okay, so since this is a fake client, feel free to put in John Smith or your favorite TV character, all right, whatever you'd like your client name to be. For the first and last name, just so we can practice. For the email address, I would highly suggest putting in a personal email address that you have that is not associated to your Dotloop account so that you can see what it looks like when we share a document to your clients and they receive it. All right, so you can see the client side. So if your client calls you for help, you can better direct them. So we have first and last name, email address, and lastly, their role. Now the role here, I cannot stress the importance of a role enough. The role here will allow them to electronically sign. So without a role, they cannot sign. So make sure in that the role option here, let's go ahead and select seller. since we are doing a listing loop. You will notice a little gray scroll bar that will allow you to scroll down to see all the other roles that are available. But the main ones are typically at the top. And before we wrap this section up here, I do want to talk about the Add to My Team feature that you'll see a checkbox above the role. This is a noteworthy moment. If you'd like to jot this down, please take note that you never, ever, ever want to click this checkbox if you are adding your client to the loop. Now, what this checkbox does, if I were to add this client to my loop, it would make it so that this client would be able to see every single thing in my loop that I can see. And of course, I don't want that. I only want my client to be able to see what's in my loop that I choose to share with them. So the general concept of Dotloop is everything in your loop is absolutely private unless you manually share it with someone. All right, so again, we do not want to click this checkbox for our client. However, it is a really cool feature, so let me tell you about when you would want to use this Add to My Team feature. So if you are co-listing a property with another agent in your office, so you are on the same side of a transaction working together to list a property, let's say. If you added that other agent in your office to the loop like this and clicked Add to My Team, it would put this loop in that other agent's account as well, so they could do everything in this loop that you can do. Okay? It's a collaborative tool. All right, another great time to use it, if you are on a real estate team and you have an admin on your team, you can add your admin to every loop, click Add to My Team, and it would put this loop in your admin's Dotloop account as well, so they can help you out with it. So great feature, obviously. Just make sure not to click that for your clients because it can't be undone, unfortunately. So let's go ahead after that long spiel. Hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions on that, of course, let me know. But for now, let's go ahead and click on Add Person on the very bottom right in red. And we have now added our client to the loop. Of course, if there were a spouse in this transaction, we would click Add Person again to add in that spouse. But for time's sake, we'll just stick with our one. I have Tony Stark in my loop today for any Iron Man fans. All right, so one last thing you'll need to do in this people section is we need to give ourselves a role. So you as the agent need to be assigned a role. Again, the roles are super important for you to be able to electronically sign. You cannot electronically sign without a role. So where it says none under your Dotloop email address, let's go ahead and change that to listing agent. All right, and let's scroll on down. So this is where the property information starts to come into play. So again, all of this information, as you scroll down, you can see all the different fields that you can enter in. But all of this information will auto-populate onto every single form that you bring into your loop. Now, just so you can see what it looks like when information auto-populates, let's go ahead and put in just some property information for the address. So if you'd like to go ahead and put in the property or the street number and street name. 5. Just whatever information you would like to put in here so you can see what that looks like. Now, as you're finishing that up, I do want to tell you the reason that this section excites me so much. If you are a new agent and you are looking at these forms, some of these forms are, 10 pages, some of them, and it's very overwhelming too. There's so much legal jargon on these forms, and it's very overwhelming to know where on those forms each piece of information goes. So this section right here is really awesome for the new agent because it straight up prompts you for the information about the property, and then Dotloop knows where on the form to place that information, so you don't have to go on a whole treasure hunt to try and find where on that form that information goes. So even if you are an existing agent and you feel comfortable with the forms, it still cuts off huge amounts of time for you to try and find the spot on that form. Dotloop just puts it in for you. So this is a really, really great tool. So feel free to scroll around to see all the awesome information you can put in, the financial information, contract dates, offer dates, it goes on and on. So very great section, very great tool. If you could now scroll to the very top of your screen, we're going to click Save on the top right on that red toolbar. Please don't forget to click Save. It's the worst when you forget Save. So click Save on the top right on that red toolbar. You will see a yellow confirmation that save is successful. So look for that as well, just to confirm that. And let's click Back to Loop. Sorry, I did that a little fast, guys, one sec. I clicked on Back to Loop on the top left, right under the black toolbar here. All right, so I'm back to loop. So now I'm back in my main loop. And we are going to add a form to our loop now. So you should see a folder name. There should be at least one folder in your loop. And you should see 3 blue boxes that display right under that folder name. If you aren't seeing any blue boxes on your screen, no worries. Just try and find where it says Add Document to the far right of that folder name. Okay, what I'm going over next is the steps to adding a form to your loop. So feel free to write this down or feel free to email me for those notes. I'd be happy to email those over to you as well. So from here, so assuming we see these 3 blue boxes, and if not, we went ahead and clicked on Add Document to make those appear. In today's class, we're going to focus on that first blue box that says Templates. Okay, in the Dotloop 201 class, I go into these other 2 boxes here, so feel free to check that out on slmtraining.com. But for right now, let's go ahead and select that first blue box that says Add an Interactive Form by selecting one from Templates. Now, before I do that, I just want to draw this full circle for you. Please notice that this icon right here is the exact same as the one on the top right black toolbar, right? That's where we kind of started class in. So it is the same section we're going into. Okay, just trying to, again, draw this full circle for you, make sense of it all. So again, we clicked on that first blue box there that says Templates, and it will bring you to that Templates section. And hopefully this looks familiar since we did start class here. So similar steps. We will first of all scroll through the left-hand side, all these red form folders on the left-hand side. There is this little gray scroll bar that's found on the left-hand column that you can use. You can click to scroll down to look through all these form folders. And you'll simply want to click on the form folder that you think will have a listing agreement, if you'd like to follow along with that idea. Now that I have selected the form folder on the left-hand side, I notice it turns black, showing me that it is selected. And I can use this search bar on the top of my screen to search for the form I'm looking for. So I'm typing in the word listing. Okay, basically what you would want to type in is whatever the form is named for your state. Of course, it's different for each state. It would be really nice if they were all named and looked the same. I'm dreaming, but and yes, you will see a bunch of forms come up based on your search here. And again, you can hover over that form name if it runs off and you want to make sure you're getting the right form. Just hover your mouse over it. The final step here is I'm clicking the checkbox to the left of whichever form I would like to bring into my loop. And I will select Copy on the bottom left, that big red button there. Bottom right, sorry. So I'm selecting Copy. After I click the checkbox, we'll click Copy. And it gives me this nice green check mark letting me know that, okay, the form has been imported into my loop, and I can simply click OK. And now you have your form in your loop. So not too many steps to bring in forms. Hopefully that was pretty easy for you guys. You felt comfortable with that. So to open up the form, to start preparing it, all you'll want to do is simply click on that form name to open that up right away. So again, all I did was simply click on that form name that's in my folder to open the form up right away. Of course, if I lose anyone, please feel free to let me know and I'm happy to catch you up. Now, as you open up that form, you should see an autofill box display right away, and that's what you're seeing here. Make sure to never click the X. We don't want to X out of this box. This autofill box is our friend. So right here, first of all, this roles. I know I keep harping on roles and how important they are. I'm going to do it again. So we really need to make sure that we see our client's name in line with seller 1. I cannot stress how important it is. They will not be able to electronically sign if you do not see your client's name in line with their role here as seller 1, for example. If you don't see their name there, no worries. You can simply click on select person, and you can either select their name from the drop down, or let's say I didn't know that the client had a spouse. I could click on add person from that drop down to add in that spouse from here as well. And also make sure, if you're on a listing agreement, make sure you have your name as the listing agent as well. As we scroll down, let's take a look at some of this auto-filled information. So we'll notice that the property address is also already filled in here because we went into that view details section and put in the property address, so it's already saving us time. Awesome. As I scroll down, I see the listing agent information. Again, already saving us time because we put all this information in that My Account section at the beginning of class. So hopefully now you're thankful for doing all that tedious work at the beginning of class. And as I keep scrolling down, right, for now, if you could just scroll to the very bottom, we're going to find that autofill box on the very bottom right in red. So on the very bottom right in red, we do need to click autofill, and this is an imperative step. Once I click that autofill button, you'll notice a little black box appears that'll tell you something like 2 roles have been assigned and 13 fields have been autofilled. You will notice that some of your fields are now yellow on your form as well. Yellow fields are an indication to you that those fields were autofilled in. Okay, so that's why some of them are yellow. Quick tip, if you accidentally X'd out of that autofill box or need to get back into it, you can easily do so by clicking on that autofill option on the top black toolbar. Okay, so let me show you how easy it is to start preparing a form. So to start typing in the form, you can simply click on any fields to start typing right away. So text fields are as easy as clicking and typing right away. And you'll see that information start to display. So pretty awesome. If you scroll around your form and you see any checkboxes on your form, it's as simple as clicking to check those checkboxes. And any date fields. And I know this is a date field because it shows a little calendar icon. That might show up in any expiration date or settlement date, for example. I can simply click on that field and use the arrows on the top of the calendar to scroll over to the date I would like and click on that date to pop that in right away. So filling out the form, preparing it is actually very simple and user-friendly. I find Dotloop to be very user-friendly when it comes to filling out these forms, so hopefully you guys will feel the same way with it. As I scroll down, let's talk about the signatures, the initial boxes and signatures. Those are, of course, really important. So if you'd like to scroll to somewhere on your form that has an initial box or a signature box, they'll be the exact same concept. I'd like you to note that, for example, in my seller initials here, I do see my client's initials in print here. Now just heads up, if I were to print out this form, this box would be blank. Okay, this initials in print is indicating to me that I set it up correctly. It's indicating that my client is going to be able to electronically sign. If it just says seller in both boxes, that indicates that the client will not be able to electronically sign. So it is super important that you do see your client's initials in print so that they will be able to electronically sign. If you do see seller in both boxes, no worries, you can fix that by clicking on this autofill option on the top black toolbar and make sure your client is assigned as seller 1 and seller 2. Okay, so this is where this all correlates. It comes into play here. Now let me show you what it looks like when your client actually goes to sign a field, so the difference between that. So if this is, if you'd like to sign a form to see it, or you can watch on my screen here. So I'm going to go ahead and sign where the listing agent would sign. So I can do that by simply clicking or hovering over the box, and I'll see Sign Now display right under it. So when I click on Sign Now, and this is the exact same concept when your clients go to electronically sign a form for the first time. So the first time, and the first time only, that you or your clients go to sign a form, it pops up their name, and to confirm it's spelled correctly. So if you misspelled your client's name, they do have the opportunity to change that here. Or if your client wants to sign with a middle initial or remove it, they can absolutely do that here on this top box here. There is an option to draw a signature as well if they prefer. However, I only really recommend that if it's on a tablet. Okay? If you try and draw your signature on a computer, it kind of looks like a 5-year-old did it. It's a real struggle. So if you're on a computer, just let Dotloop sign it for you, in my opinion. And let's click Adopt and Sign. And now you'll notice there's a huge difference between when it's actually electronically signed and when the form is just set so that indicating that it's set up correctly for your client to sign that. So I can see when it's actually signed, it's in cursive with a time and date stamp. Now, what I'd like to show you now is how to share your form. So what I would like you to imagine is that we went through, we typed up the entire form, right? You typed in all fields. And do make sure you type up every field that needs to be filled in before sharing it to your client to sign. If you try to change something on the form or add something to the form after it's been electronically signed by your clients, it will erase their signatures as it thinks your client didn't sign for that change. Which makes sense, but it is a royal pain if their signatures get erased on a fully executed form. So keep that in mind. So let's use our imagination that we filled out the entire form and is now prepared and ready to be shared to your clients. So what I want to do is go ahead and click on Save and Share on the very top right in red. It's asking if I would recommend it. I'm going to X out of that for now. So again, it was Save and Share. If you missed what I did, Save and Share on the very top right, that big red button here. And let's talk about the sharing screen here. So moving from the top down, first of all, it shows you the document that you're sharing, so you can confirm you're only sharing the documents you'd like to share. The next section down, who has access, you'll always see your name and your office staff. If you had shared it to your clients previously, their name would be here. And adding people. So we do have our client's name. I can see that 11 fields are assigned. So that confirms with me that my client can assign 11 fields. And you'll see on the far right, it says Can Sign. So let's go ahead and click on that Can Sign here so I can tell you about the different sharing options. Now the Can Sign option here is what you'll use honestly 9 times out of 10. That is the most commonly used sharing option as Can Sign. So that'll enable your client to simply do just that. Simply sign the form. You're the real estate professional. You filled out the form. You don't want your client necessarily to be able to change the verbiage on the form, such as things like, oh, I don't know, your commission rate, okay? So we don't want them to be able to edit it. We just want them to sign for what you wrote on the form. So that's why the Can Sign option is the most commonly used. I'm going to tell you about the other ones as well, because those do come into handy. If you ever forget what I'm saying in the future, you'll notice if I hover my mouse over these options, this little black box tells me exactly what it does. So view only here. So if you are sharing, let's say, a fully executed contract to your mortgage provider, right? They just simply need to view the signed contract. You can add your mortgage provider in here as view only. Or let's say you have a younger client who wants their parents to read the forms before signing it. You can also add in your client's parents here and share it as view only. Let's come on down to Can Fill and Sign. So when you would want to use that are mainly property disclosures from what I've seen. So that is a time you would want your clients to be able to fill in the form, right? As they need to add information about things like the age of the roof or the age of the HVAC. Right, so Can Fill and Sign is a really great option to be able to share in that way. And lastly, Can Edit in Private. So Can Edit in Private, that is for if you're sharing it to the agent on the other side. Sharing it as can edit in private, it will allow, let's say if you share an offer signed by your clients to the agent on the other side, the agent will then be able to edit that information and have her client sign it to counteroffer. Now, of course, just a heads up on that, so you're not alarmed. If the agent on the other side tries to change any information, it will erase your client's signatures right away because they didn't sign for that. So that is the main concept of these items here. Again, I know that was a whole crazy amount to take in of these different options, so a reminder that you can just hover and read exactly what it does from there. So once I leave it as can sign, I'll simply click share on the bottom right. And I'll see that went over to my client's email address, and I'm now waiting for them to sign it. All right, and I can click done. And that is how you would prepare and then share a document to your clients to be able to electronically sign it. Now, I know I'm going a little over class. I'm just going to show you two more quick things. One being how you can just simply print off a document and bring it in to be hand signed, and then a second to submit for compliance review. So if you already feel comfortable on that, I don't want to hold you over. Feel free to exit. But this will just take me about 5 more minutes to show you those pieces. So if you'd like to see that, feel free to hang in. All right, so I did mention earlier that if you are not a fan of technology or if your clients don't like electronic signatures, you can use Dotloop to different capacities. So you can, for example, go in and type up the entire form like we did today because it looks professional when it's typed up. From there, if your client wants you to bring it on your listing appointment so you can explain the form to them, you can simply come up to File on the top black toolbar and print that out right away. Okay, so that is an option and a really great option lots of realtors do use. So feel free to try that out. And let's go ahead and click on the back button on the very top left of our screen. So that is that, it's kind of hard to see, it's a red back button on the black toolbar. Sorry if I did that too fast. So it's just this red arrow on the top black toolbar there. When you're doing that, it might ask you if you want to save or if you want to share. Okay, so you might see those pop-ups, but then it will take you back to your Dotloop, or your loop here that we're working on. I'm just going to quickly show you how to submit for review. So on the top right, you'll notice it does say submit for review. And what that does, so your admin in your office can technically always see your loops. However, there are lots of loops in the office Dotloop account, so they don't generally look at your loop until you submit it for review. So check in with your office on when they want you to be submitting your loop for review. There are different policies depending on your office. Typically, you'll want to submit for review when your listing goes live on the MLS, a second time when it goes under contract, and a third time for closing. Okay, if you're representing the buyer, you would submit it for review twice, and that is when it goes under contract and when it closes. Now again, each office has different policies, so please make sure you check in with your office staff to make sure you're doing that correctly. But all you would do to send that to your office is simply click Submit for Review on the top right. It will ask you which folder you would like to submit. So if you have a couple folders in here and only one folder is ready to be submitted, you just select that folder, select the type of listing, and you can also put a note in on why you're submitting. Now, please don't do this. Do not click submit right now. Your office staff won't thank me if they get a whole bunch of random loops, right, in review. But this is how you would do it, right? But just don't do that right now, if possible. And I'm going to click this X on the top right for right now to get you out of this. Now, typically when a property goes under contract, you will need to create a green sheet as well. And you might have heard the word green sheet around your office, and what that is how you tell your office if you're getting paid. So it's how you tell your office if you're sending a referral out on that property or if you're splitting the commission with another agent in your office. And how you access your green sheet within Dotloop is actually by clicking this View Details option right under the property address, which we did in class, so hopefully we feel comfortable on this. So I'm just clicking on View Details right under that property address, the loop name, and then you'll see the Submit to Green Sheet option on the very top right of your Dotloop account. Now, to be able to submit to Green Sheet from here, you would have to have your pop-up blocker off, and you would have to log into your Dotloop account by going to mykw.kw.com there first, and then clicking into Dotloop, just a heads up. But you can absolutely submit your green sheet here, and you'll typically do that when you go under contract. Again, check in with your office to make sure that you know their policies on when to submit for review and to submit a green sheet first. All right, guys, so that is the Dotloop 101 class. Hopefully we feel pretty comfortable now on how to bring forms into your loop, how to navigate around Dotloop, prepare your forms, and share it to get it electronically signed. Feel free to check out the Dotloop 201 video on slmtraining.com to build on this class. And please let me know if you have any questions at all. Feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com. You can put attention my name, which again is Leah. I'm happy to write out any notes you need or explain any of this further. All right, guys, I hope you guys have a great Friday Eve and happy looping. Take care.